I'm here in Windsor for a very special programme in which I'll be joined by Prince Michael of Kent to mark a wonderful milestone, the 70th wedding anniversary of Her Majesty the Queen and Prince Philip. Welcome to Songs of Praise. On today's programme, I visit Kensington Palace to meet Prince Michael, who 70 years ago was a page boy at the royal wedding.
There was a tremendous feeling of occasion and of happiness and fun and awe.
The Reverend Kate Botley finds out from another 70th wedding anniversary couple exactly what it takes to stay married for 7 decades.
Make him believe that he's the boss, but you're the boss all the time.
And we talk to the sculptor who designed the commemorative coin to mark this platinum anniversary. This is the oldest and largest inhabited castle in the world, and British monarchs have lived here for almost 1,000 years. 70 years on from their wedding day, Windsor is the main home of the Queen and Prince Philip. And what better way to start than with one of the Queen's favourite hymns, which was actually sung at her wedding. Now for today's show, I've received a royal invitation to come here to Kensington Palace to meet a member of the royal family who was right at the heart of the ceremony, in which Princess Elizabeth, as she was then, married Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark. Prince Michael of Kent, the Queen's cousin, seen here on the right, played an active part in the ceremony at Westminster Abbey on the 20th of November 1947. Your Royal Highness, you were a page boy at Princess Elizabeth's wedding, and part of your role was carrying her train down the aisle as she made her way into the church, but you were only 5, which is quite a big responsibility for such a little boy.
It was very exciting. I was one of two pages. The other was Prince William of Gloucester, who sadly is not with us anymore, so I'm the only survivor. It was quite daunting because, first of all, the train was very heavy, and it was quite a long way to go all the way down the Abbey. So one had to behave properly, and so it was quite a drama. There were rehearsals, I imagine, but I don't remember any of them.
And so with you and the other page boy, do you think that there was ever any nerves on behalf of the grown-ups that you might panic or misbehave even?
I'm afraid to tell you, I think that we behaved perfectly well.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
I behaved particularly well. And going round corners was complicated, and not treading on it was complicated, I seem to remember. And then one had shoes with buckles on. It's a very exciting moment because it was in November. It was just after the war when everything was very grim and there wasn't very much to light people's lives up. So suddenly to have this tremendous, exciting service and ceremony was something which was radiated in people's lives.
With this being obviously looking back at all the photographs and some of the footage, a huge national occasion, did you really understand that as a 5-year-old boy?
I think not really. I'm sure people tried to tell me all about it. The problem was that the coronation came only a short time later, so my memory is a bit muddled as to what happened when. But really, the actual wedding, it was a very splendid occasion and a very dramatic and, as I say, daunting one. And all these grown-ups pushing and shoving and making sure one did the right thing. But I played a very small part, but it was magic. But there was a tremendous feeling of occasion and of happiness and fun and awe. The singing was terrific. The volume of it was so amazing. And The Lord is My Shepherd, I know, was one of the hymns. One used to sing it in church. I've always had a taste for hymns because they're rather fun and some of the words are marvellous.
So let's hear the beautiful words to The Lord's My Shepherd, which are based on Psalm 23. Years of marriage is a real achievement, and I'm here to talk to a close observer of the royal family to find out what has made the bond between the Queen and Prince Philip so strong. Hugo, lovely to meet you.
And you.
Biographer Hugo Vickers is the author of many books about the royal family. Could you tell me how you think the Queen and Prince Philip have been able to create such an enduring marriage?
Well, it certainly is an enduring marriage. I mean, 70 years is absolutely remarkable.
It's amazing.
And I think that what was interesting was that perhaps the one thing that the Queen did was in a way to sort of act out of character by suddenly deciding to marry Prince Philip. I mean, her mother wanted her to marry a Grenadier Guard, somebody like that. And she found this, of course, incredibly dashing naval man who'd had a wonderful war, a very good career in the Navy, who, you know, comes from the Greek royal family, so he knows what it is to be a prince consort, as he later became. But in a way, she was rather acting out of character. Of course, they were this remarkable couple. I mean, he was incredibly good-looking, so was she. He was sort of fashionably good-looking in the way that people were at the end of the war. And it was terribly exciting when they got married in 1947.
I mean, I've heard things about them being very honest with each other and straight talking to each other. And do you think that's important for a monarch and a consort?
I think probably Prince Philip, I think, is well recognised as the only person who can actually just say to the Queen exactly what he thinks in the way that he wishes to say it. I mean, he is a very robust person. He likes to wrestle with problems. He likes to argue points. I mean, he's not a quiet person to have around the house, and I think that's very refreshing. She really took on somebody her own size, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, they're very good, strong partnership, which is fantastic.
And of course, the Queen is the head of the Church of England. How much time, sort of practically, does that take up for her?
Well, it's one of her many duties is to be head of the Church of England, so senior to the Archbishop of Canterbury, and of course, obviously, she goes to church every Sunday. She, I think, very much likes matins. She, I think, doesn't like sermons to go on too long, but she does, of course, have time to listen to the sermon. The Queen really concentrates when she does that, and she does take a great interest in the church. And Prince Philip takes a slightly different interest, I think. I mean, he likes to wrestle with all issues of religion and, you know, sort of likes to sort of, you know, argue them through and see all the different points. And it's an interesting thing that in his library, he has more books on ornithology and religion than on any other subject.
And do you think that faith has been important in their marriage?
Extremely important, yes. I think their faith very, very important indeed, a very, very big part.